what did they say? For the blues, you needed 3 chords and the truth. I think, it's like that. I suppose you learn a few chords and you've got a foundation, and there's always something to go back to. If you're going nowhere with it, that's the beauty of painting, I suppose, unlike conceptual art where there's no concrete platform or there's no foundation. I always felt that I could go back to, I don't know, I liked life drawing. And drawing is without a doubt, that's the key for me, to draw and look at something and perceive it in a way and relay it and it all comes back to drawing. Sculpture comes from drawing and the painting comes from drawing, and it's all about drawing. I was accepted into the VCA, and I was, I felt very honoured, I suppose, because they didn't, it was called the Gallery School then, and they only took a few students. I thought art school was good in the respect that you'd get to meet other students, and I met a lot of painters there, and I knew other people who hadn't been to art school, and they sort of said it's, there's no point. But it was incisive to go there because you knew how it operated and you knew what maybe you weren't missing out on or you were missing out on if you hadn't have gone. And I think the ones who didn't go kind of regretted it in a way. And in the second year of art school, I was looking for a bigger place to work, and I'd made friends with a few artists, and we established Raw Studios pretty much. It started as an old boot factory and turned into studios, but it was sort of too good for studios, and it turned into a gallery, which was terrific because you could sort of put your work up and, you're already exhibiting your work. There was a group of artists, I think they were called Store 5 or something like that, and they were doing very hard-edge abstract paintings. But, a lot of those exhibitions would come with a catalogue, and the catalogue would explain what they were trying to do, and you'd have to read this kind of universe of discourse that didn't, it was all esoteric. It didn't make a lot of sense unless you... And I remember the art magazines at the time, a lot of the critique would go on about something and then it would say refer to the previous art magazine to find out, so you'd go, well, this is infuriating, whereas I think, and most definitely I'm, kind of reassured that we made the right decision about painting, and they're the paintings I love. I might go to the Metropolitan Museum in New York and there's a room full of Cézanne paintings that is totally outstanding. And it's absolutely beautiful. And the paintings through history that I like are all, they're painted. I love Manet, and he's one of the great painters, I think. And, he's kind of a sword fighter in that way. And that, to me, that's what it's about. And it's about, your perception of the world and whatever it might be, and then to kind of put it and make it concrete, the thoughts or the feelings that you have, and to make it in paint is, that's the quest, I think. And I suppose you develop whatever it is within you, your individuality that comes straight out in the line or in the way you work. And I think that is, that's something to, well, that's what I certainly admire in other artists, and, the pursuit of this thing. And people's handwriting is very distinctive, and you can, you can tell immediately. And in a funny way, all their little foibles and their quirks and their mannerisms are all portrayed in this. And in a way, the visual language of painting is like that, and it's, that's the beauty of it, I think, when the individualistic bits come out, and whatever you've gone through to get to whatever it is, the trials and the torture, and painting, you've got to make it look effortless in a way. It's got to look as though it just arrived from the heavens. Or songwriters talk about that. They say they wrote a song in, just as long as it took to write it down. And where did it come from? They don't know. And sometimes it happens like that, but it's rare. And usually you work on it and you work tirelessly to make it look effortless, but it's not, I suppose they say it's like dreaming, where whatever's happened to you in the day is kind of condensed, or it's sort of put in different form in the dream, so you can make sense of the crazy world we live in. And drawing's a bit like that, I think, and it's sort of putting things together, and it, you can go anywhere with it. There's no constraints. And I mean, everything, your car comes from a drawing, the building comes from a drawing, the opera house was a little squiggle on the napkin, it's all drawing. And there was a nice documentary on Frank Gehry, and he said when he was an architect, they were doing AutoCAD, or everything was on the computer, and he started hanging around with artists because they were drawing again. And, the essence of the creation is in the fundament of drawing. Bottanicus Fantasticus. It sort of originated, I didn't have a studio in Melbourne, and I was going into the Botanic Gardens, and I'd sit there and paint pretty much. And I found it quite ironic that everyone goes to the Botanic Gardens, but they just run around it. No one goes in it. And it's empty in there. And I thought, how privileged am I? I'm right in the middle of this place, and I can go everywhere here and use it as a studio. And then the paintings sort of came out of that. The original ones were, they were kind of informed by everything in there, but then I started turning them into figures and things like that. Maybe a little bit surreal, but I was also thinking of that 16th century painter Arcimboldo, and he did those weird heads made of fruit and things like that. And I didn't really look at it. I just remembered seeing these things. And years ago, I made all these sculptures out of fruit and vegetables that were stuck together to make figures. And I suppose the idea, it was sort of already there. And it, sometimes, I don't know, there's an old saying that the fruit takes a long time to grow and it drops suddenly. So that's what happened. I just went for it, and had a show here at the Fox Gallery, and that was it.